What's up, everybody? In this video, we're going to be going over an ultimate tier list, talking about the best and worst ults in the entire game, and giving you some tips and tricks on each one of them. And we're going to start off right away with Roadhog. Now, Roadhog's whole hog is actually like the best part of his freaking kit. It's one of the most powerful ultimates, mainly because it's almost like a guaranteed kill. You also have the means to like counter a ton of ultimates, like a Ramatra ult. It's really great at countering that. Almost a guaranteed kill on just about any other tank. Junker Queen, Hammond, Doomfist, Orisa, Rhine. I mean, yeah, like almost all of them will just instant die to this if you get them in your effective range. It's just really good. The only time that you can kind of not get the value that you should be getting out of this ultimate is if you're a bit greedy with it, right? You typically want to have a true 1v1, an isolated 1v1. Don't try to do it in the open. Don't feel like you're getting super pressured and pop it, hoping to like go for the Hail Mary, kill everyone type of thing. It's really just something that you're trying to bait someone or lure someone into a 1v1 with you, or force a 1v1 and then just whole hog that person. Or you could use it to just cancel or counter a lot of ultimates. It's super good right now, in particular against Ramatra's ultimate. I think it's amazing. They like nano Ramatra, you whole hog, he's pushed far enough away that his ultimate just cancels, and then they wasted that combo for nothing. And your team is actually in an advantage in the fight afterwards because you did damage, you pushed everyone away, you created a lot of space. So yeah, I think it's really strong. I don't really think I can necessarily give it the highest ranks, though. I think I could put it fairly high up. I actually am going to either put B or A. I would say A. I think it's actually an A tier ultimate. It's sad because it's slapped on a D tier character. Okay, let's talk about Mei's Blizzard. I mean, we all know how strong this ultimate is. In OT, it's amazing. Just in general, being able to freeze multiple people, get them all killed. I can think of like very few other ultimates I would like to be walking into a last fight with. If it's an OT or if it's a fight that I have to win, I definitely want to be walking into that fight with Mei ult. Now, it's a good idea for you to combo wall with this, trap enemies in. Keep in mind what enemies can get away and what enemies can't. Just like with whole hog, and you're gonna hear this a lot throughout this tier list, is don't be overly greedy. Like, it's nice to freeze freaking 4 people, but the reality of it is one tank or even just 2 people, it's enough to win the fight. Play for the guarantee. Don't necessarily play for the clip or the montage or whatever. But still, even in spite of that, you got to put it in the S tier. The Mei ult is an amazing ultimate. It's not great against every single character in the game, but there's always a character on the enemy team that is very vulnerable to Mei ult. And I do think for ranked, it's an S tier ultimate. Now, for pro play and coordinated play and stuff like that, I'd probably knock it down a peg. But for the chaotic nature of ranked and the ability to just like win fight after fight with just this one single ultimate with no combo, I got to put it in the S tier. Speaking of which, Kiriko's ult, Rush, Kitsune Rush, this is just a slam dunk. This is probably a top 3 ultimate in the game. It's so freaking powerful. It's gonna win you a ton of fights, especially if you fire it away right off the bat. You fire it away before you lose a lot of people. That's like the only time that Kiriko's ult is bad, is if you just lost 2 people and then you pop it. And you see this all the time. I've probably VOD reviewed, I don't even know, more Kirikos than just about any other character, period. On my Patreon, links will be in the description down below. But I've VOD reviewed a lot, and I can't tell you how many ults I've seen with Kiriko mains, but they pop it right as 2 people die, or right as someone dies, and they pop it way too late. When this ultimate is good, really good when you're at parity. It's good when you're ahead. It's a very powerful ultimate. It's even okay when you're behind, as long as you're not too behind, but still, very strong ultimate. It really helps you build abilities faster. It helps you take space. It helps you get picks. I think it's an S tier, top of S tier ultimate. Very strong. Definitely deserving. Cassidy's High Noon. So this ultimate is pretty bad. I'm not gonna lie. It's pretty bad. I don't think it's the worst ultimate in the game or anything like that. Man, actually, is it the worst ultimate? No, I don't think it's the worst ultimate in the game. It's not great, though. It's definitely not great. Most of the time, you're not going to get much value out of it. I think you can be creative with this ultimate, though, against some comps, flyer comps, being able to zone away enemies when they're kind of put in a bad position. There are ways to get value out of it. I don't think it's a useless ultimate, but it's pretty hard to use, I will say. There's a lot of times where you're going to pop this ultimate and just die. It's definitely going to scale better as, or it's going to be better the lower in rank you are, I think, on average. But if you're really disciplined with your use of it, I do think it can be surprisingly impactful. I'm putting it in the C tier, but really low C overall. Most of the time, you're going to want to use it when enemies are in like a fixed movement that you can guarantee a kill. So like Pharah flies up in the air, really high up in the skybox, thinking that she's safe because you don't have great fall off or you have too much fall off. You pop your high noon, you kill her or something like that, or you're killing a tank that's CC'd, or there's a lot of different examples where someone is kind of trapped in a certain space or area. They can't realistically get out. Maybe like a Zarya is in the middle of the open and she has one bubble and you pop your ult. She can't kill you, nor can she run away before her bubble runs out, right? So that's like another example that you could use. Now, the next character that we have for you is Genji, his Dragon Blade. Now, I do understand that the meme is that Dragon Blade's a terrible ultimate and you pop it and you die, and that can be true to an extent. There's a lot of characters that can shut it down. There's a lot of characters that can counter it. There's many characters that are just really hard to freaking blade. A lot of them that have fade abilities and things like that, but still, Genji as just a single ultimate, it's fairly strong. If you're not trying to go for the crazy play, right? You're not trying to kill a whole bunch of people. It's pretty easy to kill one person with Blade and live if you're only going to try to kill one person. I think a lot of people, a lot of Genjis, they're used to or they want to kill 2, 3, 4, 5. But if we think about a lot of ultimates, especially GPS ultimates, you're lucky to get one kill with it. You don't have to always go for the 3, 4, 5k. And sure, and then on top of that, Genji really combos very well with Ana. Nano Blade can kind of wipe the entire enemy team. I do think it's good. It is potentially easy to counter. I think as a Genji player, it's your job to track the things that can shut you down. Listen for fades. Listen for sleeps. Try not to go in or force an engagement if they have these things. You're going to have a lot more successful blades. I'm still putting him in the B tier. Probably rather low B tier, but still a B tier ultimate. Next up, we have Rein Earthshatter. Earthshatter is amazing. Before Kiriko's ability, her flower, Rein Shatter was much more guaranteed. Now you do have to play around that a bit, but other than that, there's not really that much you have to play around, and I do think that Shatter, just being able to shatter 2 people down, get those kills, it's amazing. It's one of the best things that you have on Rein to hard carry fights. You can build it up really quickly if you ever get into a brawl war. I do think it's really, really strong. There are a couple things that can interrupt it. Sometimes it's not the easiest to get off, especially if you're up against compositions of people that are all around you and flanking. But still, it can really just completely hard carry an entire team fight. I do have to put it in the A tier. I think I'm putting it above Hog's ultimate. I think it's really, really strong as an ult. One of the best tank ults in the game. Maybe not the best, but still very, very good. Moira's Coalescence. I think that this is an amazing ultimate. It's super strong. Now that you can fade while you're using it, you're not very vulnerable. It's a great way to kick off a fight. You can flank people and go for a really proactive play with it, or you can use it defensively and help your team. Now, I do think there's some times where this ultimate doesn't get a ton of value, but the times that it doesn't get a ton of value, it doesn't mean that you're like gonna die or you're gonna get heavily punished for it. I just think that it doesn't always have the means to just kill the entire enemy team if they're like a really solid force. But if they have people that are getting picked off or overwhelmed, or you're timing it with your team engaging or a really complicated team fight, if the enemy supports are like lacking even slightly, like they're not completely on point, you're just gonna start shredding through people, and once one support dies, everyone just starts dying. I think it's super, super strong, hard to stop you, guaranteed value. I'm putting it in the top of B tier. I think it's a really, really great ultimate. Ramatra's ult. This ult has a like one hand worth of things that stop it. Sleep, you can CC it, you can wall it, you can ult it, but those are few and far between. And I think more than anything, this ultimate is kind of dominating the meta right now. Incredibly consistent, powerful. It's like a male on crack. I mean, it's just really, really good. I really have to give this, I think it's actually right now for ranked, I think it's an S tier ultimate. I think probably for pro play, coordinated play, we would say Kiriko's ult is probably better. For right now in ranked play, it's just ending games. It's ending games by itself. It's just really, really strong. I think it's probably the best ultimate right now as far as like if we tracked ultimate use to wins, I bet you it's Ramatra's ult far and away right now. You just got to make sure that the small amounts of things that can stop your ultimate are either not in the picture, or you think that if you pop your ultimate and you can get that value right away. Like if there's value that you could be getting, like some characters really close to you, things that you can kill right away, even if something goes wrong, you're still going to get that value. You're still going to make it worth it popping your ultimate. I think that's kind of the best thing to be doing on Ramatra. Ana is amazing. I mean, her ultimate combos with pretty much like a huge amount of other ultimates, from Death Blossom to Barrage to Blade to Ramatra ult, and she just combos really well with a lot of characters too. Charge Zarya, Junkrat Queen, enables a ton of people. It's also an ultimate that you can use to completely deny a person's play. Someone all-ins your Hanzo, you can nano him and bail him out. I've died a million times on Doom trying to kill a Hanzo going all in, and then he just gets saved, and I'm like, oh fuck, and then I die. She's really, really good. Her ultimate enables a ton of different plays, a ton of different ultimate combos, a ton of win conditions. I'm putting it in the S tier, baby. Very, very strong. I don't necessarily think it's as reliable as Rush, but it's just a very, very adaptable ultimate, and it's really, really good. Orisa ult. Orisa ult is kind of... yeah, it's kind of bad. I'm not gonna lie. I don't think it's not always bad, and there are definitely ways to make it work, but you're not gonna be getting those 3, 4, 5-man Orisa ultimates when players are playing correctly and well. Most of the time, if you can get one single person, that's good. But the problem is there's a lot of cooldowns that can just completely trade for this. And I do think that the fact that you're in a stationary position, it's pretty hard to set up. I think overall, it's a fairly weak ultimate. It can definitely get some value, sure, just like with Cassidy's ult. But I don't think that it has anywhere near the ceiling or the power level of some of these other ultimates we talked about. I want to put it high C. This one might be a little sacrilege for some of you. Y'all might disagree with me on here, this one, but definitely let me know in the comments down below. Next off is Widowmaker's sights. You see, you could look at this 2 ways, right? You could look at this and say, it fits her kit. It's really strong to give her information, because when she has information, she's just really good at, you know, shutting down people and killing them. But there's a couple of problems with that. I do think that, one, objectively, if we just look at this ultimate, like not even the character, just look at the ultimate flat out, getting information is rather weak compared to like potentially killing the entire enemy team or doing stuff like that. That's rather weak. And there's other parts of this that's weak. Another part is that the enemy know that you know. Like, people just, sometimes they just wait out the clock. They just wait out the clock, they hide, you can't do anything. And if you die, you can get canceled. So there's a lot of situations where this ultimate, you pop it, and then you just instantly die, and then it's just a complete waste of ultimate. I'm going to put it in the D tier, even though I understand that it's an important part of her kit, and it can be strong because it's part of Widowmaker's kit. I just think that, like, if you just gave Widow, like, a different ult, something crazier, give Widow, I don't fucking know, Valk. No, I'm just kidding. But, you know, there's a lot of ultimates that I think are just, like, probably better overall. And you could imagine an ultimate on Widow that could have much more team fight winning opportunities rather than this, that, not to mention, you have to actually hit your shots. Just because you know where they are doesn't mean that's gonna win you the fight. So yeah, I'm putting in the D tier. Sorry. Lucio beat. I have to put Lucio beat up here. I think I'm gonna put it in between that and that. I do think that Lucio beat is one of, if not, yeah, I mean, it's just one of the best ultimates in the game. Very consistent to win fights. I do think one of the things that a lot of players don't do correctly, though, is they are purely using Lucio defensively. When, if you just think about a game, right? Let's think about a game of push. It's like, how many team fights do you win? If your team wins 15 and they only win 10, you're probably going to win that game. Oftentimes, there's an opportunity for you, because the enemy team is vulnerable, to speed your team in and beat in and win the fight. And you're like, but we're going to lose. We're going to lose the next fight because we don't have beat for their nano blade. Well, guess what? You want a fight guaranteed right now. That's one extra fight that is added on. You're probably not going to beat the nano blade anyway. Even if you beat it, you might have lost to the nano blade anyway. So why not take the guaranteed fight, and then now we get to push it way forward. They get to walk forward. They get to nano blade. We can't stop it, but guess what? We traded one fight for one fight. They used 2 ultimates. We used 1. You got to understand that oftentimes you can secure just full fight wins just by popping this ultimate and not being afraid to use it aggressively. So don't always feel like you have to just 1-for-1 trade it. Not to mention, how many Genjis have you seen just fucking int their blades? Like, we don't need to be trading a guaranteed very high set of value for these Genjis that might do fuck all a lot of the time. So yeah, keep that in mind. Next up, we do got to talk about Valk. I think Valk is good. You can res, you're not going to die, you're going to do a lot of healing, you have a good vantage point. I think it's about the same, I would say, as Coalescence. I think they're kind of similar. I do think that Mercy edges it out slightly, though, mainly because it allows you to resurrect somebody fairly easily. Being able to heal up your team, damage boost your team, so you have that decision making. You're very unlikely to die, and then you're probably going to get a res off. Means that you can really tempo swing a fight oftentimes, or you can win a fight before it even starts just by enabling your team. I think that these two ultimates are kind of similar in their impact, but Mercy edges it out slightly. Next off, we do got to talk about Zenyatta Transcendence. Now, Transcendence is a lot weaker than Lucio beat, and there's a couple of reasons why. Number one, things can still get insta-kill and one-shotted. Things can still get headshot by Hanzo and a million other characters. Number two, you can get antied. That's a big one. Number three, you have to physically be next to the person, where Lucio can be quite far away. And number four, you're leaving the fight yourself, right? Lucio can still contribute to the fight after he beats. So all of these factors combined mean that this ultimate is a fair bit weaker than Lucio ult. Even with all those factors combined, I still think it's a very, very powerful ult. I would say that it's upper B. I think it's the most powerful out of these three, mainly because it's just what it can deny, right? You could still, like, your whole team could get shattered, and these characters are doing nothing about it, but Zenyatta could potentially save them, and I do think that there's some situations where Zenyatta's ultimate can, like, bail him out of a really aggressive off angle or flank, which can be worthwhile against, like, some poke compositions and certain things. There are some comps that you could play where Trance is just not going to get that much value, and it's actually worthwhile to use it for something else. But overall, I would say that it's about on power level with these three, just in a different way. I just think that the fact that it can kind of counter a lot of really powerful ultimates like Graviton Surge and some other ones is kind of just irreplaceable. But it's going to kind of depend how strong it is going to depend on the composition that the enemy team is playing. So that is a factor to consider. It's probably the ultimate that fluctuates the most from like low A to even high C, depending on the composition you're up against. Doomfist ultimate. This ultimate fucking sucks. Holy shit. Okay, so like kind of like with the Widow example, right? It works with Doomfist's kit. It gets him his cooldown reset. It's worth using. You get a power punch, you go in with the combo, you pop your ultimate, you fall down, you get another power punch, you go in, and you can kind of chain those things together, right? That's cool. But from a baseline point of view, for just looking at the ultimate objectively, it doesn't kill anybody. All it does is kind of reset your cooldowns. Like, if you could press a button and just have all your cooldowns just instantly refreshed on Doom, that would be better than this. Like, it literally would be better than this. This is it only works because it's on Doomfist, and it's overall weak, even compared to how it used to be on previous iterations of the character. I think it's a D tier ultimate. I think that it's one of the weakest parts about Doomfist, and if they buffed his ultimate, I think that would probably be one of the best things they could do. Very, very weak overall. It could still get value, and of course, it's still worthwhile to use your ultimate well and combo your things together, but yeah, it's a fairly weak ultimate relatively, and you're not necessarily winning whole team fights based on your ultimate. It's more or less just going to bail you out of a lot of situations, and there are a lot of times where Dooms just waste ults over and over again and don't get any value, so yeah. Next up, let's talk about Sojourn. I consider the Sojourn ult like the more reliable Genji blade. It's like a Genji blade. Like, if you nano a Sojourn ult, it's like a Genji blade, but you don't have to put yourself into harm's way. This is just like, it makes it kind of better. I do think that it's very, very strong even by itself. Of course, it's going to scale with skill, but that's with a lot of these ultimates, and I do think it has a pretty high potential. I'm going to put it in between Hog and Rhine. I will say that you should have a plan of action for when you pop it. Don't just pop it and fly in and hope and pray, especially as you climb. Players in the lower ranks I see will run from this ultimate a lot more, and players in the higher ranks will fight this ultimate a lot more. They'll challenge you. You'll fly in and they'll try to kill you right away because they want to deal with you and move on or take the loss and reset. They don't want to kind of do this thing where they like half back away and give you a lot of value for no reason, even if you're not hitting your shots. So just keep that thing in mind, and like I said, have a plan of action for what you're going to do with this ultimate before you pop it most of the time. Hanzo's Dragon Strike. I think this ultimate is actually pretty good. I know some people are going to say that this ultimate kind of sucks, and I can understand why. I think that as long as you're not getting overly greedy, like with a lot of these ultimates, you can get quite a bit of value with this. You just like selectively targeting, making sure that you're just like either killing one person or you're trying to interrupt an enemy pushing. There's a lot of ways to use this ultimate and leverage it to kind of snowball a fight really, really well, deny reses, create space on an objective. I think that's overall, I'm going to put it pretty highly. I think I actually kind of give it about here. I think it's here. Maybe it's here. Nah, I think it's quite a bit higher than Genji, but maybe about on par with Moira. I would say that Genji is going to be lower than this, but I'm putting him right here. I think Hanzo on average is better than Genji. Doesn't combo with as much, but yeah, on average, it's just going to be a more reliable source of value. Lifeweaver's tree is pretty strong. I don't think it's as good as these other support ults, though. Like, I think it's good. It bails you out of bad situations, but there's a lot of times where it's like a bad trance. It can't be used to pivot aggressively very well. It does block certain things, so yeah, I think it's like a low B tier ultimate. It's okay. I think it's just okay. It's not great, and I think these other support ultimates are quite a bit better than it. Brig's ultimate. Now, this one might be a hot take, because I actually think that Brig's ultimate is low A. And the reason that this is low A is, number one, it's really, really good at not only denying an aggressive play, but flipping an aggressive play. So like Zen's ultimate can deny an aggressive play. Someone pushes you really hard on Zen, you can pop your ultimate, you could save yourself, maybe someone else, right? But with Brig, you're denying and sometimes flipping. Someone commits to you, you deny the play, you stun them, you flail them, and all of a sudden maybe they're dead, and you like flipped a play that they should have gotten a pick with into a play that you got to play with. And I do think that it can also be used to pivot it aggressively in certain brawl comps. It's phenomenal defensively. You can stun certain ultimates if you're specifically playing for it. I do think that it actually has a really high carry potential as well. I'm putting it really low A. I think it's actually probably the best out of these support ultimates. But, you know, it might be a hot take here. This is the one that might be a little controversial, but I want to hear your opinion about it down below. Next off is Sombra EMP. Really great ultimate. I mean, it's one of the main reasons to play Sombra, right? Super, super strong, reliable, good at denying ultimates. You can cancel a lot of these ultimates. I do think that one of the biggest problems, though, is you still need follow-up most of the time. Like, you can't just do it all by yourself like some of these other ultimates. I do think that it's still very consistent, very reliable. If you do have, you know, someone playing with you, someone that's coordinating with you, I'm going to put it mid A. I think it's a really strong ultimate. Just the fact that it can cancel a lot of these ults by itself alone makes it really worthwhile. And it's a great start to a fight. It's a great fight finisher. I think the number one tip I'd give to you on this is don't be afraid to use it via tempo. Don't be afraid to like ult one or two people if it's going to get you a pick early. You don't like, I know it's the greedy thing again, right? But that's like one of the biggest mistakes on a lot of these ultimates is everyone wants to go for the 5Ks and no one wants to go for the 1 to 2Ks when those will win you team fights all the same. Like, who cares? Who cares if it's a 5K or a 2K, right? It's like, win the fight. Just win the fight. That's all that matters. Anyways, let's move on to Sim. Sim wall is busted. I've been saying this before. I've said this a lot. Sim wall is hella busted. It wins so many fights alone. You just literally wall through the enemy team and through the objective. You get free sights, free fights. Try to fight any team when there's a wall sticking through you and your team. It's impossible. This ultimate is amazing. It's something that I think will win the most amount of fights just by itself when compared to a lot of other ultimates. And you're just not gonna break it. I'm putting it like, I think if you use it well, it's better than Mei. Probably for ranked, it could be a little worse. I'm gonna put it like right around here. I think it's like kind of on par with Mei. I think it's that good. I really do think it's that good. It's really, really strong. Reaper's ultimate is kind of weird. It's very feast or famine, right? There's a couple of problems with it, I would say. You have to get really into the fight. It's particularly telegraphed, and there's a lot of things that can deny it, right? You can get one shot, it can get Suzu'd, you can get slept. There's a ton of things that can deny you. I will say that in base form, though, I do think it's a bit stronger than Genji Ultimate, but with Nano, I think Nano Blade is better because you have the mobility and stuff. And I do think it scales better as you go down in rank. Overall, I think it's fine. I think it's like a B tier ultimate. I really do think it's like not that good. It's okay. Maybe I'll put it as high C. I don't even know if that's fair though, because I think it's way better than like these. I'm gonna put it here. I think it helps it with his momentum. It's not amazing by any stretch of the imagination, but it can definitely win a fight all by itself if the enemy is not playing around you. If they're not thinking about you having an ultimate, it's really like a cinch. But most of the time, people are going to be tracking you and worrying about you and playing around you, and you have to be close in order to use it. So yeah, I'm going to put it here. Graviton Surge is really good. I do think it was actually better in Overwatch 1, but Even in Overwatch 2, you just grab 2 people, you win a fight, you can keep your momentum going with your charge. Just a really, really strong ultimate all around. I think I have to put it most likely like right here. I just think it's just such a great fight start, you know, can win fights by itself. It's about the same impact as Rein ultimate, I would say. They're both good at different things. I would probably put them about on the same level. Really, really amazing ultimate. Can definitely win fights by itself. Can definitely start fights. It's just like always good. I think it's one of the best ultimates in the game for sure. Pharah's Barrage. I do think that Barrage is good. Of course, it does make you vulnerable, but it also can potentially team wipe the entire enemy team. I think the relationship between it and Genji is you're actually more vulnerable when you're using this compared to a Blade, but you use all your value all at once. So like if an opponent isn't ready for you right away, you're going to kill 3 people right away. It's not like it happens over the course of several seconds. It's happening in like 1 second, right? It can kill, you can potentially kill things through trance with nano. It can just completely body tanks. It can combo off. I'm going to put it in the high B tier. I think it's that good. I really do think it's that good. It's kind of like what Reaper ult wishes it was. Because Reaper kind of does the same thing, but Pharah is better suited to utilize that ultimate. Plus, the time to kill on this is much faster, and I do think that you're more likely to get instant value as opposed to Reaper ult. They're kind of like 2 sides of the same coin, but I do think it makes more sense. The ultimate is like a more powerful version by quite a bit on Pharah's kit. You know, just the way that it tries to do a lot of burst damage all at once and wins the fight out of nowhere. A lot harder to potentially to interrupt or deny this, or even if you do, sometimes it already gets the value versus like Reaper. You pop a Reaper roll in like the face of like a Doom or a Queen or a D.Va. They don't really care, but Pharah's ult just kills them, right? Boom, dead. Amplification Matrix, it's not a bad ultimate by any means. It's not a bad ultimate. But when we look at it compared to these 3 and even Tree, it is objectively weaker. I'm gonna put it at the high C tier. I still think it's a fantastic ultimate because you can build it so fast, but as far as power level is concerned, it's nowhere near like a Mercy ult, in my opinion. You're just not gonna win as many fights as a Mercy ult, not even close. I do think that it can be pretty good, but there's ways in which to dodge it, to deny it. Sometimes if the timing isn't perfect, people just don't peek it. Yes, you can get value out of people that are idiots into it, but if that's the metric, then, you know, Cassidy's ultimate is the best freaking ultimate in the game. I'm putting it high C. Sigma ultimate is great. It's really, really strong. It is unfortunate that this can get canceled and hacked and punched and hooked and slept. There's a lot that could kind of deny this. And it's also frustrating moments where you get people up and they either slip away or you slam them down and there's no follow-up. There are a little bit of frustrating moments. I still think overall it's a pretty powerful ultimate. I'm gonna put it right about here. I think it's a lot better than Hog ult, but not, you know, maybe on the power level of EMP on average, I think. Yeah, I'm gonna put it like right there. I'm actually gonna do this. I think this is probably more fair, just like that. Tracer Pulse Bomb. This ultimate is good. It's good because it builds so fast. Don't necessarily think it's amazing because it's not going to win you a team fight by itself, but it is a way for Tracer to deal with a lot of her bad matchups. It is a way to create momentum. The fact that you can zoom in, stick it to somebody, go find someone else, potentially get 2 kills, it's really great. I do think I'm going to put it low A. I think I'm going to put it low A just because of all those factors combined, not necessarily because of its objective power level. So yeah, I'm going to put it right around there. It's a really great ultimate. These ultimates, like some of these ultimates are better on face value, but they don't necessarily work as well as Tracer's ultimate works with her. And if we talk about ultimates based on how hard they are to build, Tracer's ultimate realistically compared to many of the more powerful ultimates, like let's say Blade is like probably objectively more powerful in a isolated environment. You're gonna build like maybe 2.5 pulse bombs for every 1 blade a lot of the time on average. So yeah, and I think that stack means that Pulse Bomb is better. Let's talk about Tire. Tire is great, man. Tire is so fucking good. It's actually annoying how good Tire is. It's actually so good. I'm putting Tire here. Tire just is guaranteed value most of the time. I'm actually gonna put Tire here. It's actually annoying how good Tire is. It's almost as good as a lot of these tank ults because you just pop Tire, and if you're just going to kill 1 person with it, you're almost always going to kill that 1 person with it. Now, and there's also potential for you to get even more than just 1 kill. which is just crazy. But like getting that 1 kill, so easy, so free. I'm putting Junkrat up here. It's one of the main reasons to play the character, to be honest, is how good his ultimate is. Bastion's ultimate, this ult kind of sucks. It works well against players who are not prepared for it, but most of the time this ult is not going to kill anybody. I do think that you can basically use all 3 to maybe kill 1 person. Most of the time, you're not going to kill that 1 person. I think I'm going to put it at high D. I think it's better than these other ultimates, but it's still not very good. I think high noon's actually a bit better than it. Yeah, this one might be a little bit of a hot take, but I don't think that Bastion ultimate's good at all. And unless you're timing it perfectly while simultaneously taking yourself out of the fight so that you're safe, it's like 10 times worse than a Junkrat tire. Like, not even close. Not even close. Hammond Mines. Mines is good. Denying objectives, potentially getting kills. I think Mines is fairly good. I'm actually going to put Mines right here. I think it's a really good ultimate. I don't think that it always is amazing. I think it can be. You have to kind of combine it perfectly. And there are ways to deny it, and sometimes it just doesn't do anything. But I think when used properly, it can be like a slam dunk ultimate. So it also depends on like the compositions you're up against and sometimes the maps and the objectives. I'm going to put it here. I think that's about fair. But, you know, maybe you Hammond Mays disagree. Let me know. Echo's ultimate. I think Echo's ultimate's really good. Couple of reasons for it. If you copy a tank, you can kind of win a fight by yourself. I think it's pretty easy to build now, and it's a great way to start off a fight. I'm actually going to put it right about Brig. I think it's about here as far as value is concerned. There is a downside, potentially. Like, you know, you pop this ultimate and instantly die. But the upside's much higher. So, like, if we compare it to Hog ultimate, I think Hog has a much higher success rate. But this has a much higher carry potential. So yeah. Soldier's Visor is like, okay. Like, it can definitely combo with Nano and stuff like that. But it's not guaranteed value. I think it's like kind of lukewarm. I'm going to put it about Reaper ult. It's fine. It's good with Rush. You can combo with several things. But there's a lot of times you're going to pop this ultimate and do nothing with it. Kill no one. But there are other times that you do enough to generate some value. It kind of depends on the positioning of your opponents. And I do think it's like a lot better in lower ranks versus higher ranks. But yeah, I'm going to put it bottom of B. Next up, let's talk about Ashe. Bob is fantastic. It's one of the best DPS ultimates in the game. I'm putting it here just under Junkrat. It's going to win you a ton of fights. I think it's actually, maybe it's actually better than Junkrat. I think it's that good. I think Bob is just really, really good. You got to make sure to create a crossfire. You got to make sure that you're not, you know, putting it next to your team. You want to put it behind the enemy team to like put them in a rock and a hard place. But this is going to oftentimes bait out a reaction, bait out cooldowns. Make sure that you're not getting it slept right away. That's like the one thing that I would say be careful of. But I do think it's a really great ultimate all around. Winston. Winston's a great ultimate. I think I have to put it in A. I think it's better than, I think it's here. Is it better than that? I think it's here. I think it's really good. It can keep you alive. It can allow you to go in more. It can allow you to get kills. It's a really strong ultimate. It does take a little while to charge, and there are some situations where you don't get any value out of it. But most of the time, if you're making a really, really good jump and then you have your ultimate as the icing on the cake, I think it's a fantastic ultimate. I'm putting it in the A tier with these other ults. Junker Queen's ultimate, similar thing. Junker Queen's ultimate, I think, is very strong. I'm going to put it here. I do think that Junker Queen's ultimate is probably not as reliable as these. There are some problems with the ultimate. There are some things like Suzu that can deny it. Sometimes you do it and you're putting yourself in a very bad position. There are other times where it completely hard carries, but it is an ultimate that you have to kind of set up a bit more than some of these other ones. And I think it's very strong, though. Don't get me wrong. I just don't necessarily think it's quite on the power of these two. I think it's very close, but not quite there. And there's a couple of DPS ultimates that I think are a little bit more of a guarantee. Torb's Molten Core. This one might be a hot take. I think this is a C tier ultimate. I don't think this ultimate's very good. I'm actually going to put it here. It can be good. It can be good. If you're a Torb god, perhaps you do have insane ultimates here. But most of the time, this ultimate is going to be severely lacking. Then there are a lot of times where this ultimate just doesn't do anything. I'm putting it in the C tier. I think that's where it deserves. Last up is D.Va Bomb. And I'm putting D.Va Bomb. I kind of want to just stack it into A. Bottom of A. I'm going to put it bottom of A. That's why I'm sticking it. D.Va Bomb gives you a lot of options. Yes, you could get big bombs, especially if you know certain lineups, but just being able to re-get your mech, have a second life, all those things are very, very good. Like, if you never use it aggressively at all and you just use it to re-mech, I think it's really, really good. The fact that you can randomly squish people is interesting. It doesn't really affect its power level, but it's kind of funny. And overall, I think it's a really good ultimate, and it really fits the character. And yeah, this is the tier list I have for the weakest to most powerful ultimates. I will say that this is primarily for ranked, though, not really for pro or coordinated play. I would probably change up a lot of these depending on that, but for the average player in most ranks, this is the tier list I have for you. But definitely let me know if you agree or disagree with any of these in the comments down below, and make sure you smash the like and subscribe if you enjoy the content. Thank you so much for coming by, and I'll see you next time.